So yeah, what can they do? It's a great question. And at the risk of sounding self-serving, I'm sincere when I say this. That's not one of the reasons that after having served for many years and fought the swamp in D.C. and now I'm battling the swamp in Austin, the reason actually I believe the swamp in Austin is worse. And the reason I say that is because pretty much everybody down here is a Republican, because in most of Texas, you can't run as a Democrat and get elected. So what we have is people who are actually Democrats who run as Republicans. So down here, like you have, everyone looks like they're on the same team, but they're not. And then number two, the reason that the Austin swamp, I think, may be worse than D.C. is because there's almost no media attention. You know, people, my constituents, and it's rational. They're living their lives. They're raising their kids. They're working their jobs. They're trying to do their civic duty. You know, they try their best, so they try to pay attention. But what that means is they triage their attention. So it's, okay, I got to pay attention to government. What that usually means, okay, what's the president doing? Or maybe what's happening in Washington, D.C., and it's really hard to focus on Austin at the state level. And so as a result, there's almost no media down here. And there's even less conservative media. I mean, almost none, like almost zero conservative media in Austin. So the one thing they can do is follow me on Twitter, because when I got in, or I guess it's X now, when I got in, members were not speaking out on platforms like I am now and saying I'm not going to play by the unwritten rules of the Austin swamp, which is you never ever criticize publicly what we do down here behind closed doors. And I said, guys, I got 4 kids under 10. I'm not going to play by these rules. You've got Democrats chairing. It was almost 40% of our committees. I mean, imagine if Nancy Pelosi was a committee chair, or AOC was a committee chair. That's literally been the case in the Texas House since I got here. So I started going online and said, if nobody else will tell the story, I will. So I'm on X at Brian E. Harrison, at Brian E. Harrison on X. I post numerous times a day to educate, because education and transparency is number one. I always say that transparency is like kryptonite in the swamp, and that's why they really hate me speaking out. But then number two, if you do live in Texas, find out who represents you. Who's your state representative? Who's your state senator? And call them and ask them a very specific question. What are you doing to stand up to the corrupt leadership in the Texas House that has allowed the Democrat caucus to control the chamber? Ask them that specifically. Ask them that in email, on Facebook. Ask them that publicly. Tag them on X. Ask the question, what have you done to stand up to the corruption? And then if there's a secondary question, what have you done to restore Texas exceptionalism, to fight back against DEI, transgender ideology, and to shrink the size and the cost of government? Are you fighting against, visibly, like, is there anything you can point to that says you want to stop public funding of universities and agencies that are engaged in DEI? And ask them for a specific example and do it in a public forum, because until we start holding elected Republicans' feet to the fire, if you're in a red state, that's it's all Republicans. Until voters start holding their elected Republican officials' feet to the fire, I fear that things will never change. And that's why I'm doing everything I can. I'm so happy and grateful to be with you here today and your organization to help educate people in Texas and across